What's up, everybody? This is the Jedi. I'm doing this because I was going to do this piece on Sundiata Acoli, and somebody mentioned in the comments from my last video that I did about Rashad Jamal White. Somebody said, they did the same thing to Nature Boy. I thought that interesting because I had just learned about this whole Nature Boy thing. Dimitri Little, I think it is. Shout out to you if you're listening. Someone that follows me on Instagram. I think that's who it sent me. I was going through my old Instagram stuff I haven't gotten to, since before Ramadan, you guys. So I was just trying to catch up and, see stuff that people had shared with me. And this was one of the things that Dimitri had sent me about this Nature Boy person. And the universe has given me the inspiration today that indeed these go together. They go together. They go together. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Why they go together is because they both represent a proof, another statement that nothing has changed for African people in this nation. They also testify that as long as white people exist and breathe, that nothing will change unless we change it. We keep waiting on them, believing they're going to change, and they are not. They've shown you for centuries that they are the same evil demon from one generation to the next. It does not change. You can look at any test point and see, just like you had the mobs screaming and spitting and throwing things at our little kids that were trying to integrate schools back in the day, and since before that even, is the same white demon kids that go to school with your kids today and are making them pick cotton and putting them in handcuffs and playing slave games and bullying them and touching their hair and calling them nigger and everything. It's the same evil demon seed, the same one. It also testifies that we keep having the same reaction, and that is lack of action. There is no amount of marching and protesting and begging that is going to stop these people in their tracks. Physicality is what we must understand. I still see people actually filming Karens that are harassing them and physically assaulting them instead of putting that bitch 6 feet under. We're having exactly the wrong reaction. 9/11, Bush stood on that pile after they blew up the towers and said, lying, of course, but said that, and those people who knocked down these towers are going to hear from all of us soon. They didn't mean marching and protesting and begging. They meant physical force, violence. Many people signed up for the military even then that hadn't even thought about the military in their life. Suddenly they wanted to go and what? Fight for their country. So when we look out over the international landscape, we see that they only attack people who can't defend themselves. who either can't or won't. We hear about North Korea all the time, but they're not going to set a single foot in North Korea because North Korea has shown this demon, I will blow your damn head off. I'll do it. They're not setting a foot in China because China has let them know, I will blow your damn head off. You see? But there they are in Somalia. There they are in Nigeria. There they are in Syria. And, they only attack people who can't attack themselves, who can't defend themselves or won't. White people, from their government down to that demon-ass child that's being born in the ICU right now, continue their campaign of terror against African people because we have not shown physical force. We've not shown that we will defend ourselves and that we can defend ourselves. This is why police brutality continues. Because we will not or cannot defend ourselves. But this is the perfect contrast because on one hand you have a member of the Black Panther. People joined the Black Panther because they were looking for hope. They were looking for resistance. They were looking for a better way, a different way. They were looking to push back against white oppression and their condition in the society, to make a better way for our people. You can go on and on and on. And on the other hand, you have this dude from modern day. By the way, I don't know his name yet. I just literally typed in Nature Boy and this came up. So I've got an article that we're going to read on that, and I will learn what his name is, because I saw some of the stuff that Dimitri sent me, but I don't know his name, and I don't. Anyway, his name aside for now, he's supposed to be some cult leader. Well, why black people would join any type of a cult or anything like this? You go back to Jonestown with Jim Jones. You know, you could go back to the movement. Remember, everybody was following John Africa. Was his first name John? Africa. Everybody had the last name Africa. I did full pieces on the movement. It's here on the channel. But they all have the same thing in common. From this dude to the movement to Jim Jones to anybody else you're going to name, African people are sick and tired of white people and their bullshit. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. Because in a fair and equitable society where there is not white terror, you don't need the Black Panthers. Don't need them. In a fair and equitable society where there is no white evil and white terror, you don't need this dude. Don't need him. In fact, one of the videos that I saw on him, some of the members that were speaking out or have been interviewed were expressing just that. You know, one brother said, you know, they was just tired, sick and tired of America. When you say America, you mean white people. That's what you mean. You know, because there's nothing wrong with the land itself. You know, there's nothing wrong. It's all fine. It's all good. You see? So we have to speak in terms that are clear. And so when someone says they're over America, they mean they're over white people and their bullshit, their evil, their demonous ways. Do you understand? And all that comes with that. So that's the commonality between then and now. Then and now. But all of this is now. I love in the song Glory that John Legend and Common did. They say, we say Selma is now. They say that in the lyric. We say Selma is now. And then when they got the Oscar for the song, Common was up there trying to further his career and lick the ass of white demons. But John Legend stood flat-footed and defiant. And he was very clear. We say Selma is now. And then he went on to give statistics about the number of Africans incarcerated and gave some historical reference, etc. So nothing has changed, everybody. I've said that a million times. And I'm going to keep saying it as if I'm breathing because it is the damn truth. Nothing has changed. White people are just like any other thing that you would observe in the existence. We know birds fly. That's not changing. That's not changing. Any bird of flight flies. That's just the fact of it. Snakes slither. They've not gotten up and start walking yet. It does not happen. The seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter, not changing. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west, not changing. And so why would you even for a moment believe that a people who have shown you nothing but evil, unvarnished evil, that they will change some kind of way? How would you think that? How would you think that? Any history you look at, it only begins when they show up. Look at the history of any continent, any country, any society that they tell you about, Everything begins when they show up. And when they show up, there's famine, there's murder, there's genocide, there's pandemics and pestilence, disorder, confusion, hostility, all things negative. There is no ray of sun that comes with these people. There isn't. There isn't. I was rewatching the goings on of the attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And do you understand that this is the only nation that's ever used the atomic weapon, the nuclear bomb, is white people. Nobody else has used it. For all these dictators and people they tell you are evil, and they oppress women and children, and they give you a list of all this shit that somebody else has done or is doing, which is probably more lies. But this is the incarnate of evil. Even with the development of the atomic bomb, do you understand that they have some, this is what I learned in that as well. They have veterans called X-ray soldiers, either X-ray soldiers or X-ray veterans. X-ray veterans, X-ray soldiers, X-ray troops, something like that. There was over 400,000 of these people that they recruited to test the nuclear bomb. Over 1,000 tests, 400,000 people, and they were all sworn to secrecy. The ones speaking now are the ones that just didn't die off yet, but they suffer with cancers and all sorts of other things that are the result of being part of these tests. And they're now telling the stories because they're so old now, nobody would really care. But the level of evil that you are dealing with is something that if my people could all have a sudden epiphany all at once, we would finally see our day. Finally. But we continue to let them terrorize us daily as I speak right now. There's something going on. Wow. Anyway, I want to begin with Sundiata. Then we'll move into the Nature Boy piece, but I'm going to tie these together in a complete thought because that is what the universe gave me. I should probably preface this Sundiata Acoli piece by saying that, many of our people were imprisoned who were part of the Black Panther movement. There was chapters all over the country. I want to say there were some international chapters, but certainly there was chapters all over the country. And, every time we try to organize anything, they immediately demonize that and try to destroy it. This is why you heard these same pablum puking demons screaming that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. It is the most ridiculous things known to humanity that are only conjured by these people. That's the truth of it, everybody. You got to get out of this habit of thinking that humanity is all the same, because they have defined humanity and characteristics and behaviors of humanity. And we just take that. It'll be something simple that seeps into the creases of your psyche and they become authentic to you. And they are not. They're nothing but pablum vomit. I'll give you a simple example. What was I watching? I was watching something where some people were gathered, I think at a concert or a session of speaking or something. And the speaker said, we've all been, since the pandemic, we've all just been, feeling this way and that way. And he's defining all these things and saying we, and no, none of it, we're not feeling that. None of that. Your ass is feeling that. Nobody else is. You see, that's just one example, but they give you this all the time. And you start thinking, well, we all do that, or we all say that, or we all have that reaction, or we all. And nah, it's just their white ass. That's it. It's not nobody else. That's why I tell you, you got to define Blackness for ourselves and our humanity and our authenticity, because it is not like theirs at all. Not at all. The mountain is not as the anthill. The zebra is not as the bird who flies in the sky. A tumbleweed is not the same as a sequoia. We are not like these people. So, every time we try to establish something to give us a foothold, even just for ourselves to breathe, we are faced with white evil. They come up with little friendlier terms like backlash and, controversy and things like, no, it's white evil. That's what it is. Let's just use plain language that everybody could understand. I also despise when I hear Black intellectuals speaking about white racism in the society, and they'll say, but we haven't fixed these ills of our country, and we just haven't, and we know they and white. That's the truth of it. It's not a secret. But these things seep into you. Every time you say racism, you should preface it with white in front of it. Something random. I was saying, yet again, somebody was saying, they were talking about segregation. It was like, there used to be a time when we couldn't, I don't remember what it was, so I'll just make up hypothetical because it'll be real, but it won't be the specific one I was trying to think of. When somebody says, there was a time when we couldn't drink from the same fountain as other people. No. That sentence should say, there was a time when white people wouldn't let Black people drink from their fountains. That clearly states it. That's important for even historical record. When we no longer exist, if we don't get the language right now, there's going to be a generation that won't know who this they and we and shit are. It'll just be an event that happened and we don't really know who the victims were or who the perpetrators were. Nah, we need to be very clear. Very clear. But I digress to say that there was many of our people, brothers and sisters, who were jailed in this era in the 60s and 70s that were part of the Black Panther movements. There were others, but the Black Panthers obviously stood out because they had organization and they had a real footprint and a sort of a brand that they had presented that was powerful and visible, And this brother, Sundiata Acoli, has now apparently been released from prison after 49 years. Now, I haven't read it. I don't know what's going on, but I want to say this. I'm sick and tired of every week there's somebody we can read about that was wrongfully imprisoned, or they had evidence that this person didn't do it, but they prosecute him anyway. All that coming out saying you're not bitter and I'm not mad. Nah. Let me be wrongly accused and in prison for some shit I didn't do. There'll be no forgiveness. There'll be no reconciliation. None of that shit is going on. I will not rest until I have gotten revenge, because that is the natural way of an African. And we definitely know it's the way of this demon, because they don't ever let shit go and they're always trying to take revenge. That's what they do. That's what they do. While telling you to be peaceful. It's a joke. But a Sundiata Acoli, U.S. Black Panther, wins parole after half a century. You can't get that back. There's no do-over. There's no do-over. In fact, I think I will present you with some pictures of this brother. Anyways, a New Jersey court has granted parole to the oldest former member of the Black Panthers after nearly 5 decades in prison. Sundiata Acoli, 85 years old, was sentenced to life in prison in 1974 for the murder of a police officer the previous year. Think about that. The very people whose whole existence is predicated on black people, and their mission is to oppress, murder, and incarcerate African people. That's the only reason why white police exist, everybody. There's no other reason. No other reason. No other reason. I promise you. If we didn't exist in this damn country, if they'd never brought us here, and we didn't exist here, they would have no police system. Wouldn't have it. And sadly, he's probably not even guilty of this murder. Sadly. Founded in 1966, the Black Panthers were a revolutionary black nationalist and socialist group espousing armed self-defense, especially against police. You see, this is from the BBC. So it's written by definitely somebody white. But notice what they use. They say the Black Panthers was a black group of African people sick of white people's bullshit and the police brutality and murder of our people, and had every right, you see, that they were a black nationalist and socialist. That's why Bernie Sanders is not president now, because the American public is the dumbest nation of people to ever existed at any time in history ever. And they just threw that word socialist at you. Socialist, socialist, socialist. When everything about this damn nation is socialist and fascist. But espousing armed self-defense, especially against police. No. Against white police. Because they were murdering them daily is what it should say. But you're never going to get that. Sundiata, who I will call him, because I told you that I was go with last name. Remember when I read you about the subway shooter, they kept calling him Mr. James. And I told you what an anomaly that was. They claim he shot up the New York subway, but every single publication that we read called him Mr. James. As if Mr. was his first name and James was his last. You see? Now, this brother is given parole and he's still a damn inmate because they don't refer to him as Mr. Acoli or Sundiata Acoli. No, Acoli. That's it. It's on purpose, everybody. I have to point that out. Anyways, Sundiata was 35 years old at the time of the incident. The shooting that led to Sundiata's imprisonment followed a routine traffic stop. Routine. We should be over that word. It goes by us like a feather. We don't even notice it. But it's another one of those little razors that cuts your ass as it goes past you. Just cut you. Routine. Because it's routine to harass and oppress African people. Their constitution says you have the right to unimpeded travel. That means A, you can't stop me for shit, and B, I don't need a driver's license or registration. Get out my face. But they love the Constitution so much, though. Huh? The shooting that led to Sundiata's imprisonment followed a routine oppressive stop by white devil-ass police on the New Jersey Turnpike. The ensuing gunfight left a New Jersey state murderer, nobody cares about his name, dead, and another wounded. Now, in this, the ensuing, right in there's a whole bunch of history and detail that they're never going to tell us. The ensuing. Well, what happened? What happened? Something happened. But they're never going to tell you that. At the time, Sundiata was traveling with Assata and Malik Shakur, two members of the Black Liberation Army, the armed wing of the Black Panthers. He was arrested after a paid murderer chased alongside Assata Shakur. Sundiata has long maintained that he lost consciousness after being hit in the crossfire and awoke to the demon's dead body. After being repeatedly denied parole since first becoming eligible 29 years ago, New Jersey Supreme Court has now voted 3-2 to overturn a parole board ruling. So just barely, you see. Meanwhile, we have Kyle Rittenhouse on camera murdering 3 people, and it's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. You see. In a written opinion on Sundiata's case, the court's justices said that his prison record has been exemplary and that he had completed 120 programs behind bars. In 2010, a state-assigned psychologist determined that Sundiata appeared remorseful and had expressed deep regret for his role in this devil's death. Say what you need to get out, brother. That's all. You feel me? We know he doesn't mean any of that. No need for remorse. If you're not guilty, there's no need for remorse. And indeed, there's no way any of them could have been guilty, because police murder has always been a staple in the society. And one of the main attributes of the Black Panther, one of the most memorable acts, is that they were armed. And they would follow these damn devils around. When they're on patrol, we on patrol. What? So when you get stopped by their demon ass, the Black Panther's right there, guns out, watching everything. Waiting for them to make a wrong move. You see? That's what it takes. That was effective. Because white people are only successful in their savagery and their hostility against us when they're in a group or they're armed. That's it. We just need to understand that principle and level up. Do you understand? I deeply regret the actions that transpired, he said. Those were turbulent and fearful times. There's some other stuff that could be said, but I'm just going to go along with it because I know he's just saying what needed to be said. But the parole board repeatedly denied his parole attempts, arguing that he could still pose a threat to the public. Think about that. Think about that. This board says he could still pose a threat to the public, but then we should take that same energy. These are the same people that brought us here in chains, so they're still definitely a threat. And why are we acting as such? Why? Why? Because they told you something changed? Writing for the majority, New Jersey Supreme Court Justice Barry T. Albin wrote that the board's views were, quote, not supported by substantial credible evidence, end quote. In other words, it was some bullshit. And they knew it too. You know, like, how's he still a threat? How's he a threat? How's he a threat? Sadly, the black man is not a threat. That's the sad part about it. You see, that's the sad part. Among those who have spoken out against Sundiata's release in New Jersey, or is New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, who said in a statement that anyone who kills a police officer should remain behind bars until the end of their life. Well, I'm with you, Mayor Murphy, because I believe that any police officer that kills an African person should lose their life too. So we agree. You see how you can have unity on an issue, everybody? That's how you come together. That's how you come together. That's how it happens. That's unity. There, I did it. It's unity. Governor Murphy is right. At least 12 aging members of the Black Panthers are still in prison in the United States. The member he was arrested with, Assata Shakur, previously known as Joanne Chesimard, has been a fugitive since a prison escape in 1977. She is believed to be in Cuba, remains on the FBI's most wanted list. And she's a very beautiful woman. She still looks amazing and all of that. Yes, Assata Shakur. Anyway, she remains to this day a hero to many U.S. left-wing activists. You see, left-wing. By that they mean the niggers and then any white people that would agree with that. They've just given you the name left. You see, be careful when you hear this left and right shit, everybody, because it's another racist term from these white devils. That's what it is. This whole transgender nonsense, you notice that they speak about it and they'll say the left. The left. All that shit is white. Ain't no left or right for me. You understand? It's white. In fact, I made a note for myself. Let me see if I can find it, y'all, because I was going to do a video called just that. Boom, here it is. It's not left and right. It's just whites. I spoke a note to myself. There it is. You see? So let's be very careful of this left and right nonsense. Let's be very, very careful. White people will look on this and believe that somehow this demon could have been doing something right. You see? We live in two different existences, two totally different existences, because wrong is right for them. Up is down, in is out, black is white, man is woman, etc. Okay, before we move on, everybody, I think we should look at this New York Times piece, because I was just going to click over to the Nature Boy thing, but I decide to click on the New York Times, and you guys know I always just scan to see how long an article is. Sadly, I didn't do it on those other ones, but this one's kind of lengthy, and so there may be more information here that we should pay attention to. It is always my intent to bring the complete, all that is known on any issue that I ever approach, quite frankly. And so I think I should do my jurisprudence in this case. The black nationalist convicted in 73 killing of New Jersey trooper wins parole. This is the New York Times. Sundiata Acoli, who was, and we'll skip over anything that we already know. We're just looking for new stuff. Sundiata Acoli, who has dementia, will be freed to live with his daughter in Brooklyn after serving 49 years for the death of trooper. Nobody cares. Now, this is a problem already in that opening paragraph, because they've told you where he's going to be living after they start with black nationalist. You see, a writer, an editor, and a publisher, everybody. Look at that font. Look at the style of the font. Look at the size of the font. That's meant to grab your eye. Black nationalists. Only thing you see is black nationalists and New Jersey trooper. Killing of New Jersey trooper. That's what you see. That's what you see. And that's what they meant for you to see. You see? But this is a problem, because their intent is to compromise his safety. And if we were people having the right response, then we would move on this information and we would make sure we had armed individuals that gave this brother security, at least for the first several months after he comes out. You see? Again, you on patrol, goddammit, we on patrol. What? We on patrol. And who's this heatheness? Where's my magnifying glass, y'all? White bitch. Tracy. I'm over it. New Jersey Supreme Court granted parole on Tuesday to Sundiata Acoli, an 85-year-old former member of the Black Liberation Army who was convicted in the 1973 shooting death of a state trooper whose name I will not say, in one of the state's most infamous cases. Supporters of Mr. Acoli, who had been repeatedly denied parole during his 49 years in prison, has pressed for his release for years. In a 3-2 decision overturning a parole board ruling, the court concluded that the board had not proved that Sundiata was likely to commit another crime if released. The Supreme Court noted that Mr. Sundiata, now they're calling him Mr., who has dementia, planned to live with his daughter and grandchildren who are residents of Brooklyn. You see, they doubled down. Who are, after the comma, they could have left it at Sundiata has dementia and planned to live with his daughter and grandchildren. Period. That she could have just left it there. But no, comma, who are residents of Brooklyn. You see, this is specious and evil. This is more white evil, everybody. You have to see it for exactly what it is. It's not just some innocent little article. It's not. It's written by a white demoness hand. So, of course, its intent is evil. Quote, we conclude that the board's findings that there is a substantial likelihood, we read that already, record, just disparity, blah, 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 blah. No member of the court disputes that Sundiata committed a horrific crime, he added. However, despised Sundiata may be in the eyes of many because of the notoriety of his crime, he too is entitled to the protection of the law and to the fair and impartial administration of justice. End fucking quote. Now, I always tell you, we accept truth no matter what the source. So I'm sure this judge is some demon, but we don't care. I always give you the analogy. If they could have the Klansman's row standing on my damn front lawn, burning the cross and all. And if they utter some truth, I acknowledge that truth before I take them out with my AR-15. Do you understand? We must cling to the truth. It is everything. It must be paramount. The governor, Murphy, nobody cares. A law passed more than 20, is that part of his statement? As did the state acting attorney, criticized the decision, as did the acting state attorney. All right. A law passed more than 20 years after Sundiata's conviction requires anyone convicted of killing an on-duty murderer to serve a lifetime sentence. So they're trying to enforce something that comes in after he's already incarcerated, and then that be the situation for him, even though his shit was in 1973. Yet this same white devil who legalized marijuana across most of this asshole, the devil, many of our brothers and sisters are still languishing in jail while marijuana is legal across the country. So can they get that same retroactive thing going on, huh? Wonder if, who were the bastards? Wonder if Governor Murphy and the acting Attorney General Platkin, wonder if they agree with that. Oh, no, because also hypocrisy is the very definition of these people, too. I'm sorry. I'm suggesting facts, not evidence, everybody. Move to strike. I have to redirect. Just redirect. Just give me a moment, Your Honor. I'd just like to redirect the witness. Just redirect. Quote, I profoundly wish this law had been in place when Sundiata was sentenced in 1974, said Governor racist-ass Murphy in a statement. Our men and women in uniform are heroes. No, they're nothing but murderers and fat lard asses. And anyone who would take the life of a fat lard ass on duty should remain behind bars until the end of their life. Again, I agree with them. We are joined at the hip on this. Murphy's right, everybody. And you should send him a birthday cake. Do you understand? Sophia Elijah, a civil rights attorney who advocated for Sundiata's, praised the Supreme Court for, quote, correcting the parole board's improper application of the law, end quote. Appreciate the sister. Miss Elijah said in a statement, quote, we appreciate and thank his thousands of supporters from the attorneys, from the attorneys, individuals, and community organizers to those who submitted amicus briefs on his behalf to champion his freedom, freedom that is rightfully his. We strongly hope that Mr. Sundiata's freedom will bring attention to the thousands of elders like him trapped in the New Jersey prison system. I love that. Because remember, there's a time when they just round you the fuck up. They still do it to this day. Just round up many, many hundreds of us at a time. You understand? A lot of brothers and sisters died in prison for nothing. Never charged with a crime, never saw a judge or a jury or anything. Just you're guilty. You see, my daily prayer is that the divine gives us our revenge, everybody. Gives us our moment. Because I know that when you do unto others as they do unto you, they don't do the shit no more. You see, that's what's righteous. That do unto others as you would have them do is supposed to be before the act. Like, don't start none. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You see? That's before the fact. Let's be very clear about that. Especially for all you scared to death ass Negroes. Bruce Afran, a lawyer who has represented Sundiata since 2011, said he expected his client to be released within a week to 10 days. They can just take you to jail on a fly, but when you get released, it's all this procedural shit and you have to wait, and we just, come on. After 40 years of being a model inmate, the time for vengeance is over. Nah. The time for vengeance is never over. But I'm sure he's probably speaking publicly, and of course he's going to say this bullshit because he's a scared to death ass Negro. For me, the truth don't change. I don't care what the setting. So if this is me, then the Jedi would say, after 40 years of being a model inmate, the time for vengeance is now. And the time for a humane approach has come, Afran said. On 2nd May 1973, Sundiata was driving a white Pontiac on the New Jersey Turnpike with two fellow members of the Radical Black Liberation Army. Radical? That you want to live and defend your life and your children and your family? That's radical, everybody, to these demons. That's radical. They wrote it, I didn't. Radical. James Costin and Joanne Chismard, a trooper, stopped the car at about 1 a.m., having observed a broken tail light. This is 1973. And we're still hearing about broken tail lights to this day from the same fucking murderers. The same ones. Who would dare to tell me shit has changed? Who? The devil, a married 34-year-old murderer who lived on, no, I don't care where the fuck he lived or what he did. I don't care. Nobody cares. Asada, who at the time was a leading figure in the Black Liberation Army, fired the first shot. Who believes that? And if she did, good. But we don't believe that. And that's what should happen and should have been happening, quite frankly. You understand? Because they already think you dangerous anyway, and you won't get treated as if you're dangerous no matter what you do. I cite for you Dante Wright. I cite for you Philando Castile. I cite for you Rashad Brooks. I cite for you Jacob Blake. I could keep on citing. I could keep on citing. But they claim Assata fired the first shot, according to trial testimony. Because they're telling the story. You see? It wasn't Assata and Sundiata telling the story. It was white devils. And as the African proverb says, until the lions tell their tale, the story of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Let's be very clear. But they claim she fired the first shot, according to trial testimony, starting a shootout among her, the murderers, and the murderers. All right. During the melee, during the attack upon them, Sundiata attempted to grab the demon's gun, according to the decision. These are the same people that wrote something completely different about George Floyd before they knew that our sister, our young queen, had recorded it. Vastly different story. I brought it to you. It's here on the channel. Read it to you, showed it to you. They had a completely different statement. And we're to believe now that they were telling the truth in 1973 about this incident? You see, this is the magic act, the hocus pocus of white people. They will put a pile of shit in the floor, and you're supposed to proclaim it to be a pile of marshmallows and something glorious and wonderful and smells like flowers. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm not even being facetious. That's the truth. That's what they've shown me. That's what they've shown me. Well, look, it's a pixie. These are the same people who want me to see a grown-ass male with a beard and a mustache and a big-ass Adam's apple and proclaim him her. Where's my fucking punch at, dude? I can't. Wow. In the course of that physical struggle, Sundiata claims, now he claims, in the course of that physical struggle, Sundiata claims, now he claims, but up here they said according to. See? When the Jedi speaks, you learn, everybody. Remember, they said the bastard, or when Assata spoke, well, first, we have to go back. Because they said in the, what was the wording? I'm not going to find it. Damn it. Anyway. Surrounding, excuse me, the one where they said, oh, here it is. They said that Assata fired the first shot according to the trial testimony. According to. You see? Oh, according to. And then here, during the melee, Sundiata attempted to grab the gun according to the decision. According to. Just like your Mark, Matthew, Paul, and Mark, Matthew, John, and Luke. According to, bitch. You see, you don't know Matthew, you don't know Mark, you don't know John, you don't know Luke. and it's being written by somebody else that's saying according to them, according to them. But that aside, they give you according to. But the moment there's an affirmative statement by Sundiata, they say claim. You see, these are the little micro cuts of evil. Little micro cuts of evil. In the course of the physical struggle, Sundiata claims, not according to Sundiata, etc., happened. No, claims that the white murderer fired at him, grazing the top of his head and causing him to black out. The decision stated, according to Sundiata, after they said causing him to black out, end quote. The decision stated, quote, according to Sundiata, when he regained consciousness, the white demon's body was lying on the ground nearby, and Sundiata fled with Kostan and Asada Shakur, both severely wounded. Kostan eventually died of his injuries, which was Malik, whatever they said his name was, something Malik something. Anyways, he died, Rahimahullah. The jury convicted Sundiata in 1974. I'm sure that was a white jury. And he was sentenced to life in prison. He first became eligible for parole in 1993. Wow. I'm trying to think about what I was even doing in 1993. I'm sure I was 1 year old, but I'm just trying to think what I was doing in 1993 at 1 year old. Anyways, reading on. All right. At a parole hearing in June 2016, Sundiata maintained that he was unsure who had fired the bullet that murdered the demon, but he accepted responsibility and expressed his deepest remorse and sincere apology to the demon's family. No one can change the past, he said, but anyone can pay the penalty to change themselves. Really? So why aren't white people paying the penalty? Because we can't change the past, and I wasn't born yet, and I didn't own slaves, and I didn't do anything, and I have black friends, and I love black people, and this and the third, but how come you can't pay a penalty? Huh? No one can change the past, but anyone can pay the penalty to change themselves. I'll just read on. Anyways, and that's what I've been working on these many years. I'm responsible, Sundiata added, according to the Supreme Court's decision. I deeply regret his death and my role in it. Read on, Jedi, or you're going to puke. I already feel like I'm throwing up in my mouth. Joseph Russo, the first assistant New Jersey public defender who joined the case on behalf of Sundiata, said the decision showed that the board had ignored, quote, overwhelming evidence that Sundiata is rehabilitated, deeply remorseful, and deserving of release, end quote. Of course, because they're white people. No remorse. These people don't give a damn. Not a damn. You understand? Not at all. That's why they couldn't stand when Michael Jackson proclaimed they don't really care about us. They threw every arrow at him because they hate the truth. Hate it. I remind you, this is a people who no prophet or book has ever been sent to. No prophet or book has ever been sent to these people. And no major religion has come from these people. Reflect on that. Reflect on that detail of truth. Reflect on that. The board ignored favorable evidence, including its own expert report, which substantiated that this 85-year-old man is a low risk for committing a crime upon release. Their own expert. Again, they don't like the truth. They have no relationship to it. At all. At all. No relationship to truth and righteousness. In 1977, Assata Shakur was also convicted of murder, but she escaped this bitch from prison 2 years later during a daring daylight breakout and eventually fled to Cuba, where she has been living as Assata Shakur. You better go, girl. That's what's up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Don't lay down and take it. She has repeatedly professed her innocence, and in 2013 became the first woman to be named to the FBI's list of most wanted terrorists. Think about that. Wow. All they are is terrorists. And this woman is a terrorist on their fucking list? Their entire country is a fucking terrorist. Go ask any other nation. Dr. King even said that they are the greatest purveyor of violence on planet Earth. Oh, but they love him so much. And while I'm thinking about it, let us be over this judging you by your character. That's exactly what we're doing to their white asses. We've always judged them by their character. That's what we've always done. You see? They have imagined a character for us out of their own white guilt for their Holocaust upon us. But we've not imagined their character. We have evidence of it. It is filmed, it is written, it is known. So yes, we judging by the content of the character. It's what we've always done. They think that's a good thing. Huh? Don't make me vomit. I hope that they can get her. The widow of the dude said, nobody cares what she says. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Don't care. Don't care. A Democrat who was Attorney General is responsible for all state and local law enforcement. New Jersey said he was disappointed. Go to hell. Nobody cares. Under New Jersey law today, if an individual, we don't care, 2 judges, Solomon and Patterson dissented from the court decision. Nobody cares. Hope they go to an early grave. Rather than affording the board the substantive difference in which it entitled, the majority probes the record for evidence. Nobody cares. Okay, nothing. All right. Listen. This is more evidence, everybody, of what I tell you. These people don't change. You understand? And they hold a grudge all the time. Not just their government, but the individuals. They're still mad. I cite for you. I mentioned the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in my opener. Do you understand? And I did a piece on it. I think it was the 50 or 60 year, maybe it's the 50-year anniversary or something like that, of the bombing. Barack Obama was the first sitting president to visit Hiroshima. What was on the tongues of white people? That he better not go there and apologize. Don't tell me shit about these people. Don't ever attempt to do that. Don't ever attempt to do that. Don't. This attack on this nation, Hiroshima, at 8:15 in the morning, people were on their way to work. People were getting their coffee. Kids were going to school. Just think about what you're doing at 8:15 on any morning. And you're vaporized where you exist. And those who survived were so badly burned from the radiation. This one lady, she does speaking tours. She's a survivor. I can't remember her name. Japanese woman. Talks about people. She literally saw people holding their eyeballs in their hands, walking like mummies. She spoke of people who had their arms outstretched with the skin hanging off of them. We heard those same reports, you'll recall, after 9/11. William Rodriguez, who was in the first tower, said that Felipe came into his office with his skin hanging off, saying, "Explosions, explosions, don't get me started." You can go and watch my 9/11 video. It's here on the channel. But to bring myself back, white people were saying they better not go there and apologize. Nobody, hear this now. This next statement is very important. Hear this very carefully. Nobody else on earth would say that or was saying that. Only white people. Think about that. Because that's what made it noteworthy. That's why I even did a story on it. That's why I did a piece on it. That's why I did a piece on it. They were daring him to go there and apologize. Don't tell me shit. Don't tell me about Nature Boy. Don't tell me about Sundiata Acoli. Don't. Not from white people. Don't tell me. Because they created Sundiata Acoli and Nature Boy and Jim Jones and John Africa and the Black Panthers and anybody else you're going to name. Always having to come up with something to resist their white evil. That's what it's all about. It's very clear. That's what it's all about. White terrorism, white evil. They're one and the same. All right, now, there seems to be a news report on this article. We'll hear what they're saying with regard to this case regarding Nature Boy, and then we will read the article in case there's something in the article that's not mentioned in the news clip, and then we'll find another piece on it.
And I'm Jennifer Bellamy, the wife of a reported cult leader, wants to tell her side of the story. Eligio Bishop, also known as Nature Boy, remains behind bars tonight, facing charges that include rape. 11 Alive's Paula Suro just finished speaking with his wife, and she joins us live at the DeKalb County Jail where Bishop is tonight. Paula?
Yeah, Jennifer, you know, after 3 years of knowing each other, Velvet Marquez tells me Eligio Bishop forced her to marry him. Why? She says that he'd tell her that she'd then be forced to bail him out of jail if anything were to happen to him. And of course, today, something quite opposite is happening. She's telling us her side of the story.
I feel that now looking back, I feel that I fell in love with an idea because he pretended to be someone that he wasn't.
Behind this smiling face, Velvet Marquez faced her hardest years next to Eligio Bishop.
He literally held me hostage. He took all of my identification, my passport, my birth certificate, my social, my bank cards, everything, you name it, medical documentations.
She says Bishop, the leader of the so-called cult Carbon Nation, went from spoiling her to abusing her when she got pregnant.
I was forced to engage in sexual activity that I did not want to do. I was still strangled on multiple occasions. So I had to willingly engage in these sexual activities because of to keep myself safe. He would abuse me in front of the women.
She had their daughter in 2019, and a year and a half later, she says he forced her to legally marry him in a Las Vegas chapel.
There was no medical attention given to us, so when I actually went into labor, I had to be rushed to the hospital 2 hours away.
For years, the cult would drive and settle across Central America. Velvet says Bishop lived off of other members' PPP loans and life savings. She gave him her $3,000 college fund, while others gave tens of thousands of dollars. And after 4 tries, she successfully ran away with their daughter with no money but hope.
My child is important. I don't understand how anybody could leave their child to be with him or to go live with him.
Now, Velvet tells me she has since received death threats from Eligio and that he even showed up to her family's home in Louisiana just months after she ran away. Jennifer?
Paula, do we know, did she ever try reaching out to law enforcement?
She tells me she did, but it was very hard to track him down because he moves so often, running away from law enforcement. But of course, now he is behind bars. Now, we also did speak to a former cult member, and we have her side of the story as well on 11alive.com. Jennifer?
As if they give a damn, you see. But as I alluded to, and we're going to get into the details of this and why and all of it, but the fact of the matter is, everybody, is some of the members that I saw that were so-called speaking out, or, you know, whatever, they were over it. They're over white people. You understand? So you had one brother, him and his wife gave this dude $30,000 because of what he was preaching. You know, he moved them all to, I feel like Costa Rica or something like this. And, you know, they were living off the earth, just like nature, you know. I saw one video where they're out in this, the sort of the jungle, if you will. Beautiful waterfalls, pure water. You know, it's a whole thing. It's, you know, when we talk about mental health, which they want to scream now, well, mental health for African people has never been addressed. Do you understand? Because our problem, the source of our mental anxiety, still exists and breathes and walks the earth every fucking day. So there'll be no cure if we're not willing to act. So that's why you have people like this. That's why you had John Africa and the Move movement. That's why you had Jim Jones in Guyana with the Jonestown thing. They claim that was a mass suicide. That's another lie they told, but that's something else. Do you understand? That's why you have even the Nation of Islam. That's why you have, you know, any of these cults, so to speak, or groups that form up. Because people are sick of it. And so they don't want you to come and just mass murder their white asses off. But when you try and do something for just self, to be alone away from their ass, they still come in. So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? You know? What are you supposed to do? You know, they want to have their cake and eat it too. That's really the fact of it. You know, like, I'm over it. Apparently his name is Eligio Bishop. There it is. Faces 5 charges, including rape, in DeKalb County. Now, what is the date on this? This is 20th April. Yeah, 20th April, DeKalb County. Eligio Bishop. Excuse me. The alleged cult leader, known as Nature Boy, was arrested after a former member of the cult, who identified herself as his girlfriend, said he posted revenge porn because she left him. Just a second. First of all, it's just like they're calling it a cult. Why does it have to be a cult? Why does it have to be a cult? I ask you this now. You know, because to me, everybody that fucking follows Trump, and quite frankly, all white people, are a cult. So why does it have to be a cult? Why? 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 Wow. Let's just look up the definition of the word cult. Let's do that. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. This is the definition of cult. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. You see, this is white people defining it. So just that right there, a small group of people having religious beliefs or practices, but here's the main part, regarded by others as strange or sinister. In other words, regarded by white people as strange or sinister. That's what cult means. You have it. We have it. You have it. there it is. It goes on: a misplaced excessive administration or admiration for a particular person or thing. Cult of personality surrounding the leaders. I'm over it. Whatever, dude. So because he released revenge porn because she left him. Okay, fine. All right. That and several other details about the case of Eligio, who has allegedly led more than a dozen followers to the, quote, carbonation, end quote, cult, as well as spread his influence with a robust social media following in the tens of thousands, are revealed in police reports released to 11 Alive on Wednesday. According to the reports, the woman told police that, quote, she had joined a sex cult in which her boyfriend is the leader, end quote, and that, quote, she did live together with Mr. Bishop, and he has posted sexually explicit videos of her and him without her consent on Twitter. I'm over it. She said he had posted 4 videos without her consent and wants to press charges. Eligio, she added, had directed others, women/girlfriends, to hit her, which led her to escape. That contact with police on 30th March led to an investigation that resulted in Eligio his arrest on April 14th. According to DeKalb County jail records, Bishop faces 5 charges of rape, false imprisonment, and 3 counts of prohibition or nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. Under Georgia law, it's a violation of sending nude or explicit communications of someone without the consent of the depicted person. Other women who have left the cult, including one woman who said she was his wife, have said they've been subject to sexual coercion and abuse. Bishop's cult reportedly began as one centered around sexual and naturalist themes, though social media accounts indicate more recently it has reoriented around Bishop's own messianic self-image and black liberation messaging. Black liberation, there's that word again. We saw those 2 words used together in the case of Sundiata Acoli. Black liberation. You see? Black liberation. They don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want it. They don't want it. Posts are heavy on the number 3 and ancient Egyptian iconography, which Bishop referred to as 3 God? The 3 God. I don't know. In the accounts, his videos and sermons portray him as a godlike figure, and he said in one message after his arrest, quote, they want to crucify me. They want me dead. There's hate that surrounds me. You can feel it, just like any other prophet. Only me. I'm the return of the Christ. I'm over it. Listen, both things can exist in the same place, everybody. I always tell you, things don't always have to be either or. They can be both and in this case, this can be some bullshit, and white people can still be some bullshit. You feel me? So again, the precipitating thing, the commonality at the center of any of this is white terrorism. That's why any of these people are doing any of this stuff. They would not otherwise be inclined, because if that was the case, we would see this in Africa. You see, or any place where we are a majority, and we don't. You don't see this any place where there are not white people. You just don't. And you may have some other things that we would call weird going on in other cultures and things like that. But there's nothing being precipitated like this that is the direct response from white people because they're not there. This is another, what do you call it? When you have something, but there's a sign of it. It's a very simple word. This is another, whatever. This is just symptomatic of the presence of white people. You know, hopefully I can find one of the members that spoke out and you can hear from them yourself, and it will buttress my point of what I'm trying to say. You understand? They otherwise would not have been inclined to do these things, but for that they were over white people and their society. Oh, and I want to say this before I go on also. You know, I told you in my last piece when I was covering Rashad Jamal White, you know, and I don't say he's this. I'm being very specific on this because he uses, like many of these Hotep people, he calls black people God, you know, that black people are God and the woman is God and all these things. And we have to be very careful not to get into these blasphemous lanes. Do you understand? I also told you be careful anyone proclaim themselves to be God. Do you understand? I don't think he means it like that. And I think most of these Hotepers, they believe that, but I don't think I don't know, I'm not going to put them in that same classification like a David Koresh or somebody like that who really thought they were God, you know, which we knew he wasn't God because he was a white man, so that's that. But the fact of the matter is, anyone proclaiming themselves to be any type of deity, you need to be over them if you're someone who really believes in God. Do you understand? Because the divine has been very clear. There's many things that Allah can forgive you for, but there are some things he has stated very clearly you will not be forgiven. One is taking anybody or anything as an equal or associate or anything like God. He is one unto himself. Ahad. Qul hu Allahu ahad. Do you understand? Allahu Samad. Lam yulid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. So we have to be very careful. And suicide. You're not allowed to take your own life. Not allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to kill anyone who's not your enemy. You don't take innocent life. Innocent life. You see. You will not be forgiven. But there is no innocent life in those who oppress us. That's not innocent. Let us be very clear. So, I don't know if this dude just kind of ran away with himself, you know, and it says a lot about anyone who would follow someone like that. Like, you must be the weakest of weak. You have no spirit in you at all. You understand? I always tell you, wild horses run unbridled or their spirit dies. And so anyone following somebody who is to this level, if these claims are true, that he's proclaiming himself to be God and the Christ and all that stuff, I didn't see that in any of the pieces that I saw on him, then you are a broken person already. You're already broken if you believe that. Like, that's just some dude. You know, most of us could just see that with our own eyes. I would not see no deity in this dude. Like, come on. But it takes two. He can proclaim himself to be whatever he wants to proclaim. But who's really the problem here? The one proclaiming or the one believing? I ask you this now. Anyways, when he was arrested in an upscale cul-de-sac outside Decatur, SWAT team members converged on the home and broke down a door and first encountered several of his followers, including a child. You see? What has he done that required you to break down the door? We've not read anything up till now that would require that activity. We'll just go back and see if we missed something, because maybe we missed it. He's the carbonation, the revenge porn, he had some girls smack her around, according to her, when she left and blah blah blah, but just not seeing storming doors, just not really seeing it. Just not seeing it. Must be that damn black liberation. Damn it, it'll do it every time. Urgh. Damn that black liberation. Now we break down the door. It's that damn black liberation. Quick, send us a SWAT team. Damn black liberators. You see, there were 14 other people in the house when Bishop was arrested on 14th April. Shout out to you, Queen. Shout out to Shiro. That's your birthday, girl. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. A DeKalb County Police Department incident report describes the SWAT effort to get into the house. And then I guess this is the report, because it's all in sort of italic or different font. So I guess that's the SWAT report of how they entered the house. I don't think we really need that. Well, maybe. Upon arrival, the SWAT team exited the Renner van, and I don't care. Fuck it. Anyways, multiple subjects. Blah, 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 and blah. At that point, members were taken to DeKalb. It's not clear if anyone chose to leave the cult after meeting with police, though several have continued to support Bishop in public. All right, I think that's enough of it for me to make my summation. Oh, well, here's a video. Let's see what they have to say here now.
Developing tonight, an accused cult leader is in jail facing several charges. His name is Eligio Bishop.
She couldn't even say it, y'all. Wait, we gotta hear that again.
Developing tonight, an accused cult leader is in jail facing several charges. His name is Eligio Bishop, but he's known as Nature Boy. According to DeKalb County jail records, he's charged with rape, false imprisonment, and sending sexually explicit messages without the consent of the person in the picture. Bishop and the followers of the Carbonation cult have a reported history dating back several years. New tonight at 11, a former member is speaking to Paola Suro about the time with the group, and Paola is joining us live from the DeKalb County jail where Bishop is being held right now.
Yeah, Jennifer, Erica Carroll tells me she is glad Bishop is behind bars tonight. She tells me she believes that him being in jail is only going to help open the eyes to the current members of Carbonation.
What would you call it? A group? A cult? Would you call it a cult?
I call it a cult now, yes. Yes, I do.
A Facebook post convinced Erica Carroll to move from New York to Honduras in 2006 to embark on a life-changing experience, one where she was told she'd be able to build a new community, eat vegan food, and be in touch with nature.
It was just in a place in my life where I was just searching for some spiritual truth.
The group back then was known as Melanation. Carol says it was led by Eligio Bishop, who went by Nature Boy. She says all 9 of them were forced to sleep in tents, use restrooms outside, and attend long meetings.
Just a second.
Quote, face your demons.
It was a lot of...
Forced to sleep in tents after they just told you that they joined on their own. You see? Hear the speciousness, everybody. We have to break this apart. I always tell you, you got to vet the things. You got to be the captain of your vessel, and you got to stand at your gate. You have to recognize and filter everything that's coming into you from this damn society. Because this is how they slip shit in on you. You're seeing the images, you're hearing the report, but you gotta listen down. You gotta listen down. Hear this now.
But he's known as Nature Boy. According to DeKalb County jail records, he's charged with rape, false imprisonment, and sending sexually explicit messages without the consent of the person in the picture. Bishop and the followers of the Carbon Nation cult have
Everything they just named sounds like maybe a summons, a court summons. It maybe. Still not hearing SWAT teams.
a reported history dating back several years. New tonight at 11, a former member is speaking to Paula Suro about the time with the group, and Paula is joining us live from the DeKalb County Jail where Bishop is being held right now.
Yeah, Jennifer, you know, Erica Carroll tells me she is glad Bishop is behind bars tonight. She tells me she believes that him being in jail is only going to help open the eyes to the current members of Carbon Nation. What would you call it? A group? A cult? Would you call it a cult?
I call it a cult now, yes. Yes, I do.
Erica Carroll to move from New York to Honduras in 2006.
Just a second.
Now, yes. Yes, I do.
A Facebook post convinced Erica Carroll to move from New York to Honduras in 2006.
Convinced
to
her.
embark on a life-changing experience, one where she was told she'd
Convinced her to move to Honduras to embark on. Hear that now. Go on.
be able to build a new community, eat vegan food, and be in touch with nature.
It
Beautiful
was just
sister.
in a place in my life where I was just searching for some spiritual truth.
The group back then was known as Melanation. Carol says it was led by Eligio Bishop, who went by Nature Boy. She says all 9 of them were forced to sleep in tents, use restrooms outside, and attend.
Forced to sleep in tents and use restrooms outside, as if there was some place inside or there was something other than a tent. But they went there of their own volition, so how were they forced? They could just got their bitch ass back on a plane and went back to where they came from. You see? But this is all to say he forced. So I'm sure they're going to tell us about some weapons that he had too, where he was keeping them under armed guard. I'm sure we're going to hear that. So we'll just listen on, because I'm sure we're going to hear that. I'm just positive of it. I just know we're going to hear it.
Known as Melanation, Carol says it was led by Eligio Bishop, who went by Nature Boy. She says all 9 of them were forced to sleep in tents, use restrooms outside, and attend long meetings to, quote, face your demons.
It was a lot of verbal and mental abuse.
But after 1 year, what got her to leave was when she says she witnessed Bishop hit his girlfriend at the time.
He slapped her up and punched her.
Verbal and mental abuse. Nothing physical, no being held at gunpoint. Verbal and mental. Basically told me some shit that made me feel bad or something I didn't like. Let's go on.
A couple of times, and then he told her to go in the tent and give him oral sex. So that was the breaking point for me.
But walking away, she realized, was easier than
That's at best maybe a domestic incident between a couple. Still not hearing anything. Let's go on.
going back home.
I had to check myself into a couple of hospitals and get my mind right. I was seeing spirits. I'm not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? Like I was going through a lot, and it was all connected to him though.
He always said that he wanted like a lot of wives, like he want 10 wives.
Now,
Bishop since leaving the cult County.
that all
Back
sounds
on
very
May 4th.
dramatic. But I always tell you, get your remote of life and hit the slow motion button. Because when you hear it in slow motion, you realize this is drama. It's drama. Fact of the matter is that they mentioned he has a substantial social media following, and he's not teaching this alphabet bullshit or transgender. He's not an effeminate man. He's not hugging on some white bitch. And it's black people. That's the problem. Do you understand? That's the problem. Because remember, you had 2 people leading their people at the same time. You had Dr. King and you had Malcolm X. Somehow Dr. King wasn't a problem, although he was. But Malcolm X was the problem. As long as you want to love up on their evil asses with your psychotic ass, then everything's fine. But the moment you act out of your fitra, the natural way of being, of responding to evil, they have a problem. But we should have an answer for that. We should have an answer for that. In my perfect world, we'll be rallying around this brother. Do you understand? We'd be rallying around him. Because this is so bad, but these are the same people that murdered off millions of natives that were here. These are the people who killed over 2 million Iraqis who had nothing to do with 9/11, and either did anybody else, quite frankly. These are the same people that killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Untold millions they've killed in Africa with their biowarfare and their all-out wars. This guy's a problem? Let's put this shit in perspective. Let's put it in perspective. These are the same people that were giving African men syphilis for over 40 years and not telling us. I could keep going. But this guy is a problem? Because he slapped a woman around? Not saying that's right. But let's put it in perspective. You see, when you filter out all the bullshit and the white hocus pocus, you get down to the substance of what's really at the center. And you go, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
Hit his girlfriend at the time.
He slapped her up and punched her a couple of times, and then he told her to go in the tent and give him oral sex.
You know, it's interesting that at the end, first of all, she looks like a lesbian. And she said in the piece that once he had one of the girls come in the tent and perform oral on him, that was the last straw for her. So that was probably some chick she wanted, you feel me? And then she couldn't have her, so he's, snatching up all the women, so she can't get none. And the pictures they showed of her when she was with the cult, she looked better than she looked sitting up there in that damn interview. You feel me? But that's something else. Anyway, the things that they're using to demonize him, black liberation, ooh, that's a problem. An occult, which it's not, but ooh, and there at the end she said, he said he wanted up to 10 wives, up to 10 wives. Like that's supposed to be a bad thing. But Dwayne Wade's little 3-year-old son who can't write a check or spell urethra or drive a car or legally smoke marijuana or a whole host of other things I could name, can proclaim himself to be a woman. And there we saw the other week where he was kissing up on some young white demon. But that's all fine, you see. But a black man, no matter how misguided or self-aggrandized, forming an organization of African people and actually wanting women in general before you get to 10, you see, this is a problem. But if that same group had been some rainbow coalition with a bunch of tutus running around out there in heels and makeup and proclaim themselves to be trans something or some pronoun, this would have been celebrated. So I always look at the overall hypocrisy of things because, as I tell you, everything in the society is connected, everybody. Everything is connected. I don't see any one thing as, oh, that happened and that's by itself and that's by itself. Oh, that happened. No. All this shit is one big mosaic, one puzzle. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. And, the girlfriend who is disgruntled, striking the part of her being, beat up by other sisters, that's a different category. But on the other side of it, she feels like some disgruntled chick, that maybe she thought she was going to be the only one and she ain't or something. I mean, you never know. Remember, these are weak-minded people to begin with. The fact that you went and joined any of this. Now, If you went and joined thinking this was some black organization that was all about black people and getting away from white people and their damn society, I'm all for it. Yes, run very quickly. You understand? That's fine. But once you get there and you see that there's so much more than that going on, and or with that, you encounter things that challenge your character or your sense of morality or your principles, then you're supposed to just be out. You don't need no fanfare and, all this coming now and speaking is just like, let me tell on them so I can just ruin everything for everybody. That's what it feels like to me. Because I 100% condone and support and believe that African people in huge numbers should be separating from this society. Absolutely separating. Because, as I said earlier, white people get off on just terrorizing us every fucking day as if they have a problem with our entire existence when we've done nothing to them, sadly, because it should be all out war in this bitch since before 1619. There shouldn't have been a day that we've not been taking revenge. But then once you want to go on your own and try and establish something that's just for us, then they still have a problem. They call you in a cult. They do everything. They tried to bring down the Nation of Islam. They thought that anti-Semitic bullshit would work on the Nation of Islam. It didn't work. And you ain't got to be a part of the Nation of Islam because Lord knows I'm not. But damn it, I support the Nation of Islam even though they're not Muslims. Those are still my brothers and sisters in blood and in heritage and in land and in struggle. So, and I absolutely support and revere the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Absolutely, 100% support him. Do you understand? So, any of these titles they're going to throw on people, and no matter what you even think of this Nature Boy person, let us understand this, everybody. Anytime they are putting a label on anything that we do, even if we know it's right or wrong, we reject that. We make our own assessment. We decide what's bad or good, or how bad or how good anything is. We don't just jump to, ooh, he's a bad guy, because they say. Nah. Absolutely not. And from my assessment, because as I saw some of the other members, but there was some of the other brothers that was being interviewed, and they were saying, like, they was over white people and the society and the bullshit we have to deal with all the time. So one brother said, once he saw that these people was really about it, because he feels like many of us, we tired of people just talking. So once you see somebody's actually doing something, like, ooh, they doing something over there, they ran to it. And in this case, this one brother, they gave him $30,000. It was all they had, and they was good with it, So I think that things like this are necessary, and we're going to see more and more of them. It's just going to have to be no leader. Everybody has to just exist and group decide on everything that happens with that sort of organization, if you will, but if there's going to be a leader, it needs to be someone who is not interested in themselves, but in the greater good of the entire group of our people. You understand? It's always somebody that's got a better idea than somebody else. That's fine. So you pool those ideas. It's the ideas we're interested in. And just because somebody came up with a better idea than you doesn't mean they're better than you, or you're now worthless, or they try to outshine you. Just you join that. You acknowledge that's a better idea. Let me jump on that. You understand? That's what intellectuals do. Indeed, that's what great business minds do even. You think Elon Musk thinks he knows everything? He may put that out as a front for the public, but trust me, he's got people around him that know more than his bitch ass, and they tell him things. You understand? Trump is another one that has people around him. I could go on, but they have people around them that advise them who have better ideas than them, because it's about moving them forward. So you don't really care who comes up with the idea. If it's good, it's good. And that's the way it should be. You know, I personally think that most of us should be making a mass exodus from this bitch and moving to Africa. Just get out of here, man. Just get out. And if you can't, then you do like these people. They went to, what was it, Costa Rica, or they said it in the piece. I can't remember now, you know. But they were celebrating the fact that they could have real food and real water and, you know, just real freedom, you know, to just be. And you're never going to be able to just be as long as white people exist or as long as you're in their damn society. The whole of us need to just leave them standing with their damn vomit in their hands. See how they get along without us, you know. But we leave them and those who can't get to this thinking, to this understanding of reality. You know, you just have to leave them behind. You just have to. You just have to, you know. So, I don't know the update. He was arrested, and I think we read he was denied bond. I really don't want to go back through this. This has been a very long production for me. You don't even know. I started this video several days ago, and now it's Monday a.m., the early wee hours of, no, I don't think it's the wee hours yet. I think it is the wee hours. I think it's after midnight already. So I just don't remember if he has bond or not. I just don't remember if we read that or not. I don't remember. But I'll probably revisit this in another piece. So I should land here. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this piece, everybody. And I will look forward to reading your comments. I love you all. I'll see you soon.